Coming up in this episode.
I started on this search for a manufacturer. Now, that is not easy at all. I had great ambitions of getting them made in England, and I wanted a British brand. I just couldn't do it. I kept trying, and then basically I could find someone maybe to make the frame, but I couldn't get the bag sorted, and then I'd still have to get a load of stuff shipped over from abroad for materials to get put together. I'd have been doing so much juggling to try and bring it together. There was way too many moving parts in the process that, you know, one bit goes wrong, the whole business is stuck.
You're refining your pitch. If you're going to do all that effort to just get no, because you have no traction, which is the case for so many people, then direct that towards your customers and you will get sales, and then you will have traction and get some money. And in fact, you might end up finding that you don't need investors if you're able to build a really successful funnel.
Are we on now? We started now, have we? Have you just tricked me into a nice soft start?
We started when you joined, mate.
Oh, did you?
I told you, that's all going in.
My uselessness at the beginning is now for prosperity.
It's part of the authenticity.
The Founders Unplugged podcast, hosted by Greg McCallum. Raw, unedited conversations with entrepreneurs and startup founders.
It's right, just how it was before when you turned them off. It's I know it's maybe not ideal, but I could hear you. You could hear me.
Right. Does my fan sound loud on your side?
No, not really.
Oh, so that works?
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's a fan noise coming through because my computer seems to be working hard on this. I've never normally had an issue before.
No, it's not too bad. I can't really hear it. Google's quite good. It's got sort of background noise cancelling stuff involved. So, you know, it's pretty decent for stuff like that.
So that works from your perspective?
That works fine. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that. I don't know why I've never had that before, but that's...
See, I've had those sort of headphones, but I've still got them. And yeah, for meetings, they've been quite temperamental. I think it's just Bluetooth. Yeah. That's why I go with these bad boys here, because it's just big, chunky ones. They tend to do the job. But
as long as you're happy with this connection, then I'm...
No, it's fine. It's fine. Not to worry. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah?
Are we on now? We started now, have we? Have you just tricked me into a nice soft start?
We started when you joined, mate.
Oh, did you?
I told you, that's all going in.
My uselessness at the beginning is now for prosperity.
It's part of the authenticity, you know.
It's it's been... I mean, obviously, as everyone struggles, it's the school juggle and kids off and trying to work, and then you're working but not really looking after the kids and not really working, and no one's really winning in that situation. And then you have the dreams of, you know, kids going back to school and everything being great. And of course, schools go back. My 9-year-old goes straight into school, throws up, gets sent home for 2 days because obviously he can't be in. And then my daughter ends up on crutches, and she's strained herself, but I mean, she's fine. You're just like, it's literally the moment they went back to school and all that. I mean, that's
straight back home. Yeah.
And how was yours?
Yeah, same sort of thing. Without the injuries and coming back home, obviously. Summer holidays is always a bit of a challenge. It's fun, you know. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely fun, but it's not without its challenges. Perks of working from home, though, right? You know, you can unplug a little bit every now and then and just say, you know what, I'm going to have half an hour, or you know, whatever, and that's quite good. But it's been a struggle, to concentrate, get work done. Absolutely. But we'll get there. That's why I've been working on the outhouse to convert that into an office, because I can't do that again for another summer. That's just not
nice.
That's not
your own space, man cave.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I had before, because we had an office upstairs, which is now my son's bedroom. But of course, he got older and he needed a bigger room. And then we also needed the smaller room that he was in as the nursery for the newborn. So no office. So now I'm in the living room, which of course is, you know, is the hub of the household. So, you know, when the kids are around, that's, you know, they're fairly good. You know, when I'm recording like something like this, for example, then my wife will, you know, get them out of the way. He'll go on the PlayStation or whatever. So, you know, thank God for the PlayStation.
A screen is sometimes exceptionally handy.
Yes, sometimes. Well, especially if he's doing something which I consider constructive, because I don't have a negative view of video games. You know, I play video games to unwind myself, and there are some video games I find are acceptable. There are certain types which are just, you know, brain dead, right? brain dead playing.
Yeah.
But when there's tactics involved and teamwork involved and communication and all this sort of stuff, I'm like, do you know what? Go for it. Like, you're learning a good skill there, you know. So
I mean, I'm sort of with you on this. I'm not really a gamer in that sort of sense. I mean, I used to, obviously, back in the day, I Crash Bandicoot, I loved it, and I also had my ZX 48K Spectrum back in the day.
Oh, classic.
I did dive in. I do have a slight claim to fame for myself, I think. Anyway, so my family all went away to. My wife is South African, and she went off to South Africa, and the kids went off to South Africa with her. So I had like 2 weeks at home by myself. I'm like, get in. I'm going to go and buy myself a PlayStation or whatever it was. So the moment they'd taken off, I went down to Dixon's or Curry's or whatever it is, bought myself a game station, PlayStation thing. And it was when Call of Duty Modern Warfare had come out.
Yeah.
So I got that with it. And I plugged it all in, sat down in front of the TV. I brought the chair, big comfy chair right in front of the screen. And then I basically got myself set up.
Yeah.
24 hours later, I have finished Modern Duty Call of Warfare in terms of getting from one end to the other.
Modern Duty Call of Warfare. That's beautiful.
I hadn't done every single task, but I got from one end of the game to the other.
Yeah.
And I was just like flickery eyes and couldn't sleep afterwards. I was like, oh my God, what have I done to myself?
Yeah.
Coming out my bedroom down into the lounge and looking at the lounge. I don't know how, but for me, being sat in one chair and not moving for 24 hours, it was like the epicenter of a bomb had gone off and all the way around. And I was horrified with myself. And so I sold the game station to my friend Rich, who knocked 50 quid off the sale price and called it his idiot tax. I was like, why have I done that? I could have learned another song on my instrument, or I could have read a book. And I completely and utterly put myself off.
But the thing is, though, I wouldn't beat yourself up about that, because it's an immersive story, right? And it just so happens to be quite a long one. And yes, maybe you could have broken it up into pieces and played it, but like the point is, you were engaged, and it was a story, and in the same way that you'd read a book and you were taken away, or a movie you were taken away. It's just the difference is you're participating in it. That's the only difference, right?
I mean, you get a sort of taste of my personality and sort of, because if I'm going to do something, I'm in. Right.
Like, a little bit of an addictive personality. I find that's quite a common theme with founders, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Doesn't it really? Because you've got something you need to do, and you need to be highly motivated,
right,
to get to where you want to go to. Yeah. So from that sort of sense, I mean, I totally get that. Actually, that's
why actually some ex-addicts can have made incredibly good entrepreneurs in the past, if they manage to stay clean. There's quite a few that have managed to become very successful business people as a result, because they have that mindset of just fixating on something. Yeah. And of course, having that as a replacement for, and all the adrenaline associated with it, as a replacement for a substance, is also a very healthy thing, because then it gives them a new focus. But
because you go down a rabbit hole and you focus on that rabbit hole. You're planning all the time. What can come in? What can go out? Where does the business stand? How do you evolve?
What's next? When can I get my next fix? It's like,
I want more.
Oh, this is getting a bit boring. What's the next thing? What else can I break so I can fix it? It's like that. But well, one hell of a twist and turn at the beginning there. That's a good way to start, I think. Listen, I have very little structure in this show, as you probably guessed already. But there is one thing that I like to do with everyone at the beginning, or at some point in the beginning, if possible, which is just to ask them to introduce themselves to whoever's listening and watching, and just explain a bit about the business. So it's kind of like the spotlight's on you for a bit. Well, it's on you throughout the whole episode, really. But just to take us on a journey. Tell us who is Paul Marchant?
I mean, how far back do you want me to go?
As far back as you want, or as you feel is relevant. I mean, maybe not quite at conception. That might be a little bit too far back. The weeks after.
50 years ago, my mum and dad got together. No. My name is Paul Marchant. I am the founder of Stroli. I'm from the Yorkshire Dales, basically. I grew up in a place called Ilkley. That's where my sort of formative years were spent. Yep, still have right, fine. Yeah, there's my LinkedIn page. My name is Paul Marchant. I grew up in a town called Ilkley, and I now live in London. So I have a a firm appreciation of country and city. I think that is a way to put it. I have basically since education, I've always been in advertising and marketing. I sort of cut my wings there in that career. And then I have my own advertising agency from about 2002 down in Soho. And I ran that for 16 to 18 years or so. That then went a little bit wrong. We lost a couple of large clients, and it was just difficult times. Brexit had come, people had pulled budget. Like things like Piaggio went and pulled their marketing budget and put it into Italy. Samsung moved their stuff over to, I think it was Amsterdam, and things would just change very rapidly. Right. And I ended up at that point with a decision to make in reality. It's sort of turning to shit. What do I do? How do I get this sorted again? And you face these things through business all the time. And we had 2008, had to pull it together again. But because I'd been in advertising and marketing all my life and run my own agency, it was either at that point I have to, rebuild the business, which is fine, or is this my opportunity to get out of that business and do something else? Because I've done that for 25 years. And so I decided, because there are certain things I wanted to do, and there's certain things that I've worked in the abstract in advertising and marketing for 25 years. I really like the idea of a physical product. There were certain things that were going through my head. So I came out of that, ended up sort of a bit lost for a year, like thinking, what am I going to do? What do I want to do? And rather than, how to say, so some people, when they have their business idea and they want to crack on with it, they have a problem that they're dealing with, and they find a solution to that problem, and they go, oh, that's what my business is going to be, and they sort of go forwards. I came at it from a very different perspective. I was like, well, I want a business, but I don't know what that business is. So I gave myself 3 parameters. One was it had to be a physical product. It's bored of working in the abstract. I wanted a relationship with a consumer and me. So they purchase what I've got, I give it to them, and they pay. That was born out of being bored of waiting for 120 days for clients to pay me. It just wound me up. Yeah. And then the third part of it was I wanted to, at some level, do something good for the planet, and it had to be scalable. So those are the things that are in my mind. So I'm sort of going around, and I'm also at this point, I picked myself up a consultancy job, because obviously you have to keep the wolf from the door, and you need to, bring money in to get something to go forwards. So while I was doing this, I am also been doing sales consultancy and building a distribution channel for an oak frame building manufacturer, and he wanted to develop a new channel that goes into builders merchants. So I basically built a distribution chain over the last 2 years for a oak frame building manufacturer in builders merchants, and I've got coverage nationally for them. So that while that was going on, I was also doing this, and I had loads of different sort of things going on. Like I got the rights to be the distribution rights for an American children's bike brand, and I was sort of thinking. So there's lots of different things floating around, and I'm trying to join the dots about what works for me. And then I had suppose people will call it a eureka moment. I suppose it's a eureka moment. Yeah. Over the top for this one, but I was in Paris, and I was going in the station to come back to London, and your brain takes things in, everything, it takes it in, but sometimes you're not consciously aware of what you've taken in. So that's sort of happening, and I get on the train in Paris, and I come out at King's Cross, and then I stood outside the station having a cigarette, which isn't particularly healthy of me, but I'm having a cigarette, and then I see an old woman who's pulling a shopping trolley. And then it sort of dawned on me that in Paris, I'd seen a young woman pulling a shopping trolley, and I had this sort of like, hang on, what's going on there? There's a young woman there, and there's an old woman there. And then as I was moving, I saw another person pulling a shopping trolley. It was more sort of middle-aged, and I'm just like, oh, I like this. That was it. It was just that I like whatever that is. There's something there for me in that. It was a product. It's with a person. You got the whole, and that's what sent me down a rabbit hole, and what's brought me to today. Because then I start looking at the market. Is it a viable market? Can I do it? Is there money to be made? And but all the sort of bits you go through. It turns out It's a completely overlooked sector. So the subsector of shopping trolleys, which is what Stroli is all about at the moment. So we sell fully recycled shopping trolleys. That's where we are, and that's a subsector. So there has been a 33% growth in the shopping trolley market in terms of Google searches in the UK since 2019. So say there was like sort of 800,000 Google searches in 2019. There are now 1.2 million Google searches per year for shopping trolleys in the UK. There is a market, yet there is no go-to brand. They're completely overlooked. Generally, they're just sort of poorly made tat. So we are making a better quality product from recycled and sustainable materials, and that is the start of Stroli. But we're not generally about the shopping trolley. What we want to expand into is the bigger shopping bag sector. And again, that is growing year on year. Again, there is no go-to brand. When people think of a shopping bag, you just think of a bag for life with a Tesco's logo on it. In reality, I'm pretty certain you could name a rucksack brand. I'm pretty certain you could name a luggage brand. But can you name a shopping bag brand? No. So that is what Stroli will be the answer to. And as consumers and retailers are pulling back from the sort of, plastic and stuff, you're seeing it with Aldi. They don't give away bags at the point of counter. But that's because it's just harder for their business and it impacts on their profit margin. But consumers and retailers will pull back from plastic, and there has to be an answer to that. And I want Stroli to be that brand. And on a personal gripe level, you see a lot of supermarkets, I think it's Tesco's, Waitrose. I'm not shaming on this, I don't mean it like that, but they go, we're not selling any bags for life anymore. Not bags for life, single-use plastics. Well done, that's congratulations, that's really good news. However, if you need it, but when you do, they're just selling bags for life and heavy-duty plastic now. Those 1.5 billion bags for life sold in the UK back in 2020. I mean, that's just ridiculous. They're more intensive to make. They take longer to nothing really breaks down properly, but they take a donkey's ages to break down, and then more intensive, energy intensive to make. So it's not really a solution, and that's where Stroli is going to come in. So,
and of course, the cost of that's being passed on to the consumer.
Yeah, it is. So, and I think the average bag for life is used 4 times. Not a bag for life in my book. So that's what we want to be, and that's what we want to solve. And
right.
So we have so we launched at the end of 2019. No, hang on, where are we? Not 2019. A loose COVID throws me, and I'm still in this time. Like what year?
We all lost a year, didn't we?
We launched beginning 21, end of 2020. So last year, no, hang on. No, end of 21. That's it. We launched at the end of 21, beginning of 22. Last year was basically just getting our product into market with bugger all marketing and just proving that the product is that the quality is right. And we know that now by the lack of returns. Because I can't go out there and say, hello, investors, can I have a load of cash? Sell loads of product and then get them all sent back because they're rubbish. So I've had to prove that the quality is right, also that people actually like them, and I've done that. So I now have a basic proof of concept, and now I'm on this journey, on my fundraising journey. I'll come on to that later because that's been a real that's been a learning curve. So that's a bit about me and what I'm up to in business, really.
Well, thanks for that. And having gone through that process, I mean, like you said, you knew it wanted to be a product. You knew it wanted to have some sort of positive impact on the, as far as the planet's concerned, and you knew you wanted to have a relationship with the consumer. Were those 3 things as simple or as easy as you maybe initially thought?
Well, the idea of coming up with those 3 parameters was really easy.
But in terms of executing those things,
in terms of
especially the product side of things, right?
Yeah. So the one, it could have taken me until now to find what that idea would be. You just have to be open to what's around you and just keep pondering. So from that point of view, I think I'm lucky I found a sector that's overlooked. But I'd have kept looking and I found something eventually. But I think this is right. In terms of then when you get down to this execution thing, because it's all about once you've discovered there's a market and it does work, and if I get the positioning right, there's profit to be made, but can I actually make the product to the specifications it should be and still make profit? So then I started on this, how would I describe it? My search for a manufacturer. Now that is not easy at all. I had great ambitions of getting them made in England, and I wanted a British brand. I'd still like to go back to that at some point. I just couldn't do it. I kept trying, and then basically I could find someone maybe to make the frame, but I couldn't get the bag sorted, and then I'd still have to get a load of stuff shipped over from abroad for materials to get put together. My supply chain became a nightmare, but also the cost. I mean, I'd have been looking at selling for £180, but to sell that unit I'd have been doing so much juggling to try and bring it together. There was way too many moving parts in the process that, one bit goes wrong, the whole business is stuffed. And I tried really hard and I couldn't make that happen. I then bit the bullet and did what a lot of people do in a manufacturing situation. I'm going to go to China. So, and I did. So you start going through Alibaba, who's everyone's heard, and there's loads of suppliers and manufacturers on there. So you put on there who you are, what you want to achieve. I've got some tips for people that are actually doing this if they're actually in that situation. So you go onto Alibaba. A couple of things. Do not say you are the final decision maker. Do not because then they want a decision off you there and then. I alluded to the fact, I never said I was part of a big company, but I used the terms like we would like to look into and things like that, just so someone doesn't think, what, you're just a little one-man band, or if they think you're the decision maker, they're on your case very quickly. And also use a Gmail, don't use a company address to start off with. And you can rationalize that is because I don't want to be spammed. We are looking at this as an exploratory, and I'm not giving you my company name to start out with. So that helps. So you start on that process and you put out what you want to do. Loads of people come back to you. And then you have to filter out the good, the bad, and the ugly. Some of it's quite an easy filtering process. If you have an idea for what your product wants to be, and you want to design something, as soon as you're talking to someone about specifics, and they're trying to palm you off on saying, oh, I've got this product, you just need to, here it is, I've got this ready. Well, that's not what I want. Oh, you don't need to do the changes. They are basically middlemen, and they are basically just they're basically taking a margin, selling you stuff. That's not.
They've got a ton of stock already, and they just want to palm it off to you, basically.
And they're also just a middleman for someone else.
Yeah.
So you lose those because they are obviously not the manufacturers, and they are not the people you need to talk to. Once you've lost those, you then start to find the actual manufacturing people, and then it's really about just sniffing each other out. You've got some really big players which are really bullish and minimum orders. I struck gold. I found a lady called Sunny who works, and it's her own factory and all that sort of stuff. She's a medium-sized producer, and she works with aluminium. She makes ladders, just makes all sorts of stuff. But she's in that sort of thing. So I ended up having and I'm talking now to say 5 different people. She was really helpful. And when we're talking about like my development and what I want to do, use this term we and all that sort of stuff. And she worked with us to develop the product we wanted. And she was and because this was all in COVID times, everything happened to, I couldn't go over there, couldn't visit, all that sort of stuff. So we're doing it via DHL, products coming over, testing and all that. Finally get to the product that we're done. And she's been really helpful. And she hasn't charged us for the development. Because in her mind, and I'm wondering, well, I'm not going to ask for an estimate or an invoice. She's still working. I'm going to keep going with this. And I don't mean that in a nasty way to her, but I'm just like, money's not come up, so let's just keep this going.
You're a startup, so if you're going to take it if you can, right?
This is working for me. We get the product that's right, and then we're having a conversation. Then it comes down to the order, and she's like, right, brilliant, and she's expecting an order for like 20,000, 30,000, or whatever it is. I'm like, brilliant, we've got the 4 products, they're awesome. I've been wheeling them around for ages. I've had friends wheeling them around for ages. We know they're good. It works. I'd like 1,000, please. Her face. Because we were on a sort of, she was like, what? I mean, she was really like, just blown away. And then she was like, "What are you talking about? I mean, what are you?" And she'd assumed that we were this massive, like, retail, like a Tesco type sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And no, I'm Paul. I'm creating this brand called Stroli, and we're looking to get into the shopping bag market, and we're starting with a shopping trolley, and then we're going to grow from there. She was just like, "What? There's no 20,000 unit order. You're a startup." I'm like, "Yeah." And then she said, she looked at me and she said, "Paul, is your company a pissant?" I mean, it's obviously just like, which just made me laugh. And I was just like, "Well, yeah, we are very small." But she quickly, because it's her own company and she gets it, she quickly sort of switched, and then the sort of shock went, the disappointment disappeared, and she was like, "So hang on, this is your company. You are looking," because I sent her everything. So this is your company. You are looking to create a brand in your country and then Europe around shopping trolleys and shopping bags, and we've worked with you. I'm like, "Yeah, that's my ambition." And so you're working with us. I said, "Sonny, you've done all this for me. I get this right. Let me do my bit. You'll be getting the rest of the orders." And she's been doing product. I've got some different bags and I'm doing, because I'm looking to expand the range, not just in shopping trolleys. And she's done loads of work for us because she gets what I want to achieve. And
she gets the vision. Yeah.
She gets the vision. She also knows the size of the market. So it turns out, I mean, I did feel bad I didn't lie, just didn't fully fess up with what I was.
Yeah.
But I'm in that situation. I don't have deep pockets, just need to do it. And so.
And also you're using a very predatory platform where you do have to, which incentivizes that way of doing things. Yeah. So you know, what can you do?
I could very easily been shafted. Really straightforward. I mean, at the end of the day, I still could be. I mean, she could take our design and go off and do what she wants. You always run that problem. However, I don't think she will, because she knows that I'm trying to do here. If she's done it in China, well, as long as I don't know, I'm sort of quite.
What you don't know doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah, I'm sort of pragmatic on that. If she has taken that, she's selling them in China. Obviously, it's not ideal. It's not what I'd want, but she's not. As long as she's not doing it this side, then fine. I'd like to think she wasn't, but you never really know in these situations.
Yeah,
and you always run that risk and have that trouble. So I think I got exceptionally lucky. So that is one part about the difficulty of obviously getting your product there. And then the next bit about execution is because as we were coming out of the pandemic, global shipping prices skyrocketed. I mean, so my how much was it? It's meant to be. Oh God, I can't remember. It's about £1. It's about 80p to £1 a unit to ship from China to here. When I shipped in, I think I was on £14 a unit, because rather than was it £16 a unit? It was high. And basically that was, I mean, I've got, say, about £24 of margin in terms, so there's margin in my product. But that basically was a nightmare. But I took the decision at that point, it needed to be done because I still needed to test the market. You know what I mean? Like, I'd got my figures, in theory, this will work. But if I don't take the dive, what am I going to do? Wait a year? What am I going to do in that year? So I bit the bullet on that. Glad I did. Obviously, it was expensive. Got into market and then started from there. So yeah, it's not execution at the end of the day is not easy.
And how long did that entire process take you?
Oh my God. So from the moment of, hang on, what's going on here? I like shopping trolleys. I'd say at least 18 months.
Wow.
At least 18 months. And then the last 18 months, I've sort of been in market. But I sort of, and that comes on to the next bit about the difficulty of business and the execution of business, again, to the final bit. So in reality, for me, with my advertising and marketing background, the fact I've run a business before, once I'm in market, it's not easy, but I'm very comfortable in that.
It's familiar, right?
Yeah, I can get this done. I know what I need to do. Difficult without a marketing budget, and I find that really frustrating because I don't. I've got all this skill and I can't use it, so it's been very difficult. We have managed to get some product out. Now then, I get to, and this is again in the execution of the business. I get to about, I think it's October last year. So I've got my sort of proof of concept. And so if I'm honest, I've stalled a bit this year, and I'll come on to why. I mean, there's no hiding anything. So I've got my proof of concept. I get to about November, and I've always had like every stage when you do business, you know, you've got objectives and goals to get to. And if you don't get to that goal, the business falls apart. You know, can I make the product? Yes, I can. Right, I can get to the next thing. Can it work to the market? Yes, I can get to the next thing. Can I get them into market? Yes, I can. Can I sell some? And is the quality right? Yes, it is. So all those bits get ticked. I get to about October, and like, right, now I know that, I can go out for investment. I'm one of the believers in I need to sort of prove it can work before I can go and ask someone for money. I think I'd have been in an uphill battle saying, give me a load of money for a shopping trolley, because it's not the most sexy product in the world. So I get to about October. I then quickly realize, because of my advertising and marketing background, you know, you understand who's your target audience, what do they want to know, how do you present your product to that audience? I very quickly realized that I do not know how to talk to an investor. What do they want to know? Because I've never been in the sort of fundraising world before. I've built my agency before through myself, but I've not had to raise money. And this product, I need money to grow it. So then I realized, well, I don't know. What do they want to know? How do I present the information and all that sort of stuff? So then I realized I need to get on a course. I ended up coming across a cohort called Startup to Stand Up. Have you ever heard of them?
I have heard of them, yeah.
They're a great bunch. I'll come back onto them later if I remember. They're a brilliant bunch of people, and I'll talk about them in a bit. And you sort of start learning. I didn't even know there was something called SEIS. You know, this is where my lack of knowledge comes in. SEIS, what a platform to actually, or what an offer for investors. I didn't know it existed. So I was, you know, my knowledge on that was rubbish. And I came across them very fortunate. I found out about SEIS through a friend who introduced me to someone that gets you your SEIS Advanced Assurance, who introduced me. I got on that road and I found the right path to get into this sort of startup mentality. Because I wasn't part of that when I've been going through this journey. I didn't even know this world existed. Didn't know people like you existed with your podcast. You know, just didn't. And I never really used to use LinkedIn, hated social media. And when I had my advertising agency, someone else did it for me. I'd give them a brief, but you know. So I sort of get into that, and then I join a course. Hattie Fawcett runs an amazing course she's called Focused for Business. And she runs a brilliant course about how to get yourself investor ready. And absolutely stunning. And then I started that in January and sort of done by the sort of beginning of March, and it's done over a couple of months. So it gets you, what do people want to know? Gets your pitch deck ready. What needs to be in your pitch deck? What you need to be saying to people to make yourself saleable. Get your forecast sorted out. All that sort of stuff. I get the context of what it needs to be. I didn't know how to present it and what people wanted to know. So I learned that. I then get to say end of March. I'm now ready to go out for investment. Now, as I mentioned, I've been building a distribution network which kept myself busy and kept money coming in. I get to, and this is the difficulty of execution all the way through, I get to the beginning of April, and thank you very much, Paul. You've given us national coverage. That's brilliant. Thank you. You completed the project. I'm like, oh, shit. Do you know, and I'm thinking I'm just going to roll it. I'm thinking, well, yeah, and I know in the back of my head, shit, you know, I've done this.
You did the job too well.
I need to roll it into something else. And then it's just like, no, right, thank you very much. I'm like, oh. So that then stops. I'm like, right, now this is a problem because I've got something that I need money to keep myself floating. So then I sort of lost the last 3-4 months of trying. So I sort of paused in terms of looking for investment. And this is the problem that any founder will know when you're right at the beginning. You spin a lot of plates. And so I've then sort of the last 3-4 months, I've been like, I need to get another job or get money. So I was out there sort of looking for stuff. And then there was a marketing offer came in. But when you get into marketing again, you can't organize yourself like I'll do some work. You know, you're in and it's long days and all that. And so I was like, damn, I can't do that because then Stroli will go. And I was like, hang on a minute. I have just got loads of product knowledge about oak framing. I've built this entire distribution network. I'll just go back to that. I'm like, why didn't I think about this before? Just go and say, can I have a job doing sales? And he was like, well, yeah, what do you just? Well, we're not really looking for a salesman at the moment. I'm just like, well, I'll do it 0% commission. You give me leads, I'll do that. So I spent 3 months building up a pipeline of people. I'm getting loads of sales in now. So I brought my income back up, and I needed to concentrate on that. The good thing about it, though, it enables me to have time to do something else as well. So I've worked. So I'm sort of 2.5 days that, 2.5 days that, with another 4 days. So more days in the week than there are, because you work and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so
there are more days in the week for founders.
Oh my God, it's just
we have
amazing.
a 14-day week.
Yeah, I think I've got a 10-day week at the moment. But,
right. Okay.
But that's enabled me the flexibility. So then now we're now at the beginning of August, and now I'm back. I've got my income sorted out. I've now got some stability back in my life, and I've got time that enables me to dive back into Stroli. So in a little bit, I've stalled, which I really kicked myself for, and I've struggled with that, because I wish I knew what I know now last August and October. So when I had momentum, I should have been building my network of people. I wasn't. I didn't know I should be on LinkedIn. I didn't know I should have all this. I didn't even know what a cap table was. I mean, that's the kind of learning I've gone through. And I wish I was there. And then someone told me this thing. Do you know about the law of gestation?
Probably if you explain it, it does sound familiar, but
it's brilliant. And this just sort of got rid of my guilt and my own ass kicking I'd been giving myself.
Right.
So basically, gestation, different animals have different gestation periods, don't they?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm on my business ride, and my gestation period is just what my gestation period is to get Stroli done. And so I was thinking, I should have been ready last year, and I should have had this stuff. No, Paul, your gestation period is your gestation period.
Right.
You weren't ready at that point to get to that, and you are ready now. It's all part of your gestation to be ready. And I just suddenly thought, I like that, because I am where I am now. I've got myself in a good place. I've got all my knowledge. I've got everything I need to go forwards.
Exactly. You could very well be in a situation where you're still trying to find that income, and everything's on hold, and and people have been in that situation. So for months. So exactly. Your journey is your journey. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
And that really helped me. Really, I mean, it sounds so obvious, but I was like, oh, I shouldn't be. I should be in a different position, or I should be better, and I should be what
Right.
No,
it's not helpful. It's not helpful, is it? It's not a helpful mindset. You are where you are, and that's it. And if you want to change something about that, you do something about it, right?
You do. You've got
to make things happen.
Yeah. So that gets me now to now, and so I'm now on this sort of fundraise journey, and so I've started talking to people. That's a full-time job as well. Yeah, it is. So this is what I mean about I've got 2.5 days of doing my sales. I've got 2.5 days of sort of doing Stroli, and then I've got the other 4 days, 4 days of doing outreach to investors. And I really do need to do more outreach to investors. But that's difficult because I don't spam. So the next thing you need to learn, and again, this investors don't sit there going, "Hi, I've got loads of cash and I'm looking to give it away."
Some of them do.
I need to find some of those.
I know a few like that.
Do you? Perfect. We'll have a conversation after this. Don't say the name on here, because otherwise everyone will be after them. But so then I sort of really started. So I've had to learn. The next bit is I've had to learn, how do you find these people? The amount of times I've spent on Company's House. I mean, I've had to look, that sort of stuff. I found a nice service called Scribe Labs, and they sort of scrape data for people, so you can put in sectors. So that's been really useful for me. So I started that, but I want to, what are they invested in?
Have you used ShipShape?
Yes. Oh, yes, I have. Yes, Daniel's ace, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he was on the podcast, and so was his co-founder, Alistair. I've had them both on. Lovely human beings. Yeah.
Oh, I've missed theirs one. I'll have to go back and have a look through that. Is it actually out?
Oh, yeah, it was in season 1. Yeah.
Oh, right. I missed that. Right.
Alistair was on, and then a couple of episodes later, I had Dan on.
Right.
Yeah. Both lovely human beings, very hyper intelligent individuals. Dan could only spare an hour, but it was a really good packed hour. We managed to talk about a lot of stuff. Right. Really interesting.
Great service, ShipShape.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I struggled with not like because of their platform, because I've had to understand the language that comes out of it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, this is what I mean about, like, if you don't understand some of the terminology, you don't get the context of what things are said. So
Exactly.
I feel like I've had to learn a new language.
Yeah.
Even though I've been in business before, this is just totally, I'm on a very different journey. So now I've sort of struggled with finding investors, because when I want to write to them, well, I want to know what you're invested in. And then why is that? Why are you interested in that? And therefore, if you're interested in that, I think you might be interested in this. And so, I mean, everyone has a standard email to an investor. I've got a paragraph that's pretty much
right.
standard.
That's how it should be. But I mean, what you're describing there is sales.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's sales outreach, and that's how sales outreach should be. That's what people talk about when they talk about personalized sales outreach. It's exactly that. It should be, you find a reason for choosing that person, for reaching out to that person. Yeah, there's always going to be a bit that's the same, because it's like, this is our product, whatever, or this is our service. But generally speaking, that's how it should be. It should be relevant to the individual. Absolutely, because everyone can see spam a mile away. You know.
Yeah, it just goes straight in the bin.
Exactly.
And that is what takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really does. So I mean, I'd love to be sending out 1,000 emails a month. I'll be lucky if I get to 250.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean,
but you're increasing your chances by taking that approach.
Yes, very true. So you know, and I've had some conversations. One thing I've found interesting is, obviously I've had a few conversations so far. I've had a few no's so far. I've had to turn someone down so far, which was, I did not expect to be. Like,
right.
You know,
interesting. Okay.
I was really just wasn't comfortable, and I did not expect to be doing, because I was like, yeah.
That's a really important thing to do, though. I know a couple of founders that have done it, and I know a couple of founders that should have done it and didn't, and regret it. You know, it's a really important thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, in this one there was a bit. It was, I'll give you some money, but I want to have a load of sweat. I want to work for you and take sweat equity.
Right.
I'm like, well, hang on a minute. You're just taking double what you're putting in, and then you want. But no, it's not working. And I was just like, that's a fantastic business model you have for yourself, though. So I've sort of. But I mean, the thing I've found is people have said, no, but can you keep me updated on your journey? And that's a good thing, because people want to see what I'm doing. And this is where I started kicking myself, because I was saying, well, bloody hell, I had much more going on last year while I was getting this on. I've sort of stored, and then I had that chap talking about the journey, so I relaxed a bit, because I'm confident on what I built. The basic proof of traction I have is the basic proof of traction. Doesn't matter if it happened yesterday or last year. The market is there, the market is growing, and I proved that, and the product's good. That's that. That's in the bag. So, you know, don't beat yourself up, Paul.
Yeah, I actually made a post today. I can't remember the exact wording of it, so I'm just going to bring it up while talking. But it was actually on this topic, funnily enough. So I posted, listen up, founders. If you're spending more time thinking about how to raise funds from investors than you are actually getting your product into the hands of your customers, your startup will fail. What do you think of that?
Agreed. I mean, that's basically what I did. I spent my time getting my product to market. Right. That's exactly what I did. Yeah. And then with the view, and then I go and find an investor. But then I mean, in reality, you want if you can, you want the balance.
Of course. But I mean, like you just rightly pointed out, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, so it's always this difficult thing. Like I speak to a lot of founders, as you know, as an advisor, and one of the topics that comes up time and time again is, you know, when should I go and start, you know, doing my raise? And it's like, well, you know, the amount, like we've just talked about, it's sales. You're building a sales process. You're learning the sales process. You're refining your pitch. If you're going to do all that effort to just get no because you have no traction, which is the case for so many people, then direct that towards your customers, and you will get sales, and then you will have traction and get some money. And in fact, you might end up finding that you don't need investors if you're able to build a really successful funnel.
If you are enjoying this episode, please subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments.
And grow a bit more organically, which, you know, I think, you know, in old school terms, it was organic growth, and now it's bootstrapped is the term for the startup world. But, you know, there's no harm in that, I don't think. No. But it's not that easy, and it doesn't apply to every product, right? Especially when it comes to manufacturing. That's a whole different kettle of fish.
I bootstrap organic growth when I set my advertising agency up.
Right.
You know, because
that's quite normal in service-led businesses. You know, it's a very normal thing to do.
I was sat. So I was I'd been in advertising. I was a client. I got my way up by 30 to a client services director, which is good. And then I made redundant. And basically I was like, well, I'll look for a job and I'll try and set up my own ad agency. In reality, I wanted to be a radio production house. Love radio as a medium. But then our first client we won was Playboy, and they wanted TV, radio, press. It's like, well, there goes the business strategy. Let's, we'll become a full service agency. But I literally sat at a kitchen table with a laptop and my phone, pitching for business, and then going to see clients. And then because I've got loads of connections, I could freelance it out. I didn't have the cash flow issues and like all that, and I could pull favors of friends. As soon as you've got like, I need to drop, well, next lot will be sort of 25 grand on product, bang. It's just a slight, that was a very different sort of situation to the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess our second client, we basically won, but then they said, yeah, perfect. We want to come to your office. And I was like, oh
shit.
God.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. So we had the lady called Ruth who has a little had a design agency in Angel in Islington. So I was like, and she had been helping us doing our back end artwork and all that sort of stuff, right? So I'm like, Ruth, we've got a client and they want to come into the agency. And she said, what are you going to do? You've got no agency. I was like, I'm thinking, Ruth, that we change the logo on your door and you become Trumpet and he comes in for a meeting and she's like, do you think that'll work? I'm like,
this is the very definition of fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, totally. So anyway, so this chap turned up, I'm not going to say anything, but he turned up and I took him around the office, which wasn't mine. And their staff were like, what the hell's going on here? And then I got funneled took him to the meeting room. I remember like Ruth was in there and said, and you need anything? He said, yeah, a couple of coffees, please, Ruth. And then anyway, so I had the meeting. It was all good.
Yeah.
And I escorted the client out, and that was then perfect. And
and then you were escorted off the premises by security.
I stepped out, and I was chatting with the client, and the door closed behind me, but I didn't know the code to get back in. And I'm like waving at him, but I can't get in the building. I wish he'd just walk quicker away. I can't get in.
Oh, brilliant! Oh my goodness!
But no, you just have to find a way.
Yeah.
It's not ripping someone off. I got an office shortly after that because those two, Playboy, my second client, basically meant I could get an office. I could start to build the team.
That's the thing. That's the definition of being scrappy. I mean, if you were doing that and taking people's money and running, well, that's a very different story. But the fact that you were just building a business and you had to, for a specific type of client, they would expect a specific type of thing. I mean, that's just thinking on your feet and being a scrappy. Yeah. That's the way it works sometimes.
There's no way we'd have got their business.
Right. And these days, the equivalent to that is using things like virtual calling systems and virtual assistants, and like people do that all the time. They're just solo founders and they've got all of these these digital versions of things to make them seem like they have a big call center or a big office space somewhere. It's very similar. It happens a lot, especially in the crypto space. It happens a lot.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. But not for such good reasons in the crypto space, but yeah,
I can get why a client would be concerned, because you think, well, who the fuck are you? Who are you backed by? How can I trust you? Totally get that. But like, if you're good at your job and you've got the stuff and you prove, because a lot of people don't look too far into your background anyway. You know what I mean? Like, we won Grant's Whiskey. They didn't know we were 3 people sat in a really dodgy office at that point. We got the Belvedere brand. Just because we got in for the pitch, we did our work, the strategy's brilliant, the creative's amazing. Why would they think we're 3 small people? You just wouldn't.
You just don't want that to undermine everything else, right?
You don't.
The work that you do, your skill, your experience.
No, you definitely don't. And also, the one sort of plus side of that is obviously you're pitching yourself up with the big boys. Therefore, your fees are in big boy territory as well. Yeah, which works very well when you're small. Because they'd second guess if you were charging half the price of someone else. Well, why the hell are you doing that?
Right, exactly.
Suddenly you're like, well, something's wrong.
Well, that's where pricing is really important, and people don't appreciate the psychology behind pricing. It's incredibly important for that reason.
Yeah, massively. Massively. I mean, there'd have been alarm bells ringing if I was half the price of other people.
Yeah.
For the type of work that I was doing. And we did fantastic work. We did stuff to educating on landmines. We always, Robert Jebb, my creative partner, so there's two of us. He now runs Chicken Crackling. Shout out for you, Robert Jebb. So we've all gone off into different directions. He's got fantastic business. So basically, when we were running the ad agency, he's a bit of a home cook and a chef, and his favorite part of a roast chicken dinner is crunchy chicken skin. The bit
yeah.
And he said, I want a business in this. So he was like cooking bits of chicken skin at home, bringing it into the office and all that. And that's how his business started. And I was just like, that's brilliant. I mean, yeah, all that chicken skin in the world. Of course, no, you have to buy it. It's going to go into dog food otherwise. And
right.
He's been onto a massive journey, and he's basically created the equivalent of pork scratchings in chicken form.
You'll have to get him on the show. I'd love to talk to him about that. That sounds really.
Message.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
He's a great.
I'm a bit of a home cook as well, so yeah, food is my jam, and I definitely would agree that I would prefer chicken scratching over pork scratching any day of the week.
Pork scratching, you're going to break teeth on at some point, isn't there?
And it's just not great.
Home cooking, though, I wrote a book.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
what about home cooking?
Yeah, well, not about, but so during I'm a bit of I call myself a glory chef, I suppose, at home.
Right.
I bet, look at me showing off with my amazing food for my friends when they come round.
yeah.
I'm one of those. But yeah, so during lockdown, it's called Cheeky Feasting, and the website is cheekyfeasting.com.
I'm gonna check it now.
Cheekyfeasting.com.
Yeah.
Basically, it is a book of it's recipes from around the world remastered for cheek meat, as in cheeks. So long, slow cooking.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah.
So it's split into 3 sections. So it's there's 2 sections: walking and swimming. Walking is obviously beef, pig, deer, veal, whatever else, and swimming is various fish cheeks. So cod cheeks, halibut cheeks, skate cheeks.
Why cheeks? Why cheeks in particular?
Why cheeks?
I don't think I've ever asked anyone that question in my life.
I do have an answer to this. Again, there's always a light bulb moment, isn't there?
Right. Yeah.
I've got some friends, B and Steve, and they enjoy food. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And we were chatting, and they said, I had an amazing beef cheek and whatever pie. And I went, beef cheek? Never heard of it. And they were surprised because I like eating and I like food. So they were like, oh, beef cheek's amazing. And the next day I was in the butcher, and on the counter was a couple of beef cheeks. So I was like, right, off we go. Let's go and make a pie. And it was stunning. And the thing with beef cheek, it turns out it's a lean cut. So so braising steak is generally fatty cuts that then break down. Beef cheeks are really tough and need any meat animal, not fish cheeks. So fish cheeks are very quick, delicate flash fry. Cheeks from animals are long, slow cooking, so braising. But it's the collagen that actually makes them juicy and all that sort of stuff. So actually they're really healthy. So it's a slow cooked piece of meat that is actually lean. Really, it's a really bizarre contradiction. So it's the collagen that breaks down and makes them so, but they're just bloody tasty. And then the more I sort of like, I wanted to have some more. So and then I want more cheek because I was blown away. And then I couldn't really find more recipes. Do you know what I mean?
You became a cheek addict.
So I did, much to my family's horror, because when you're writing a cookbook, you end up cooking lots of variations of the same dish to get it right. And so I'm cooking a lot of cheeks in this household. People had enough of cheeks, and then but in the January time, it was in the second lockdown, Leslie decided she wasn't eating meat for January. My kids have gone, I'm not having any more cheeks, Dad. And so suddenly I'm just So I was cycling around the neighborhood of Belsize Park, dropping off dishes to people at their houses because I was but yeah, really enjoyed it. Pork cheeks, my chili's amazing. They're just cheekyfeasting.com if anyone would like a copy.
Yeah. Well, I just put it up on the screen. I'm curious about that. I don't think I've ever cooked with because I cook pretty much all the meals at home. You know, I'm an ex-chef. It was the first thing I ever did when I was a teenager. I went and trained in France for a bit as well. Stayed there for a couple of years and went to chefing school. And I have a French mother, so you know the cooking and food is in my blood, right? Well, wine is in my blood, probably more accurately. but yeah, but I don't think I've ever cooked with cheeks. I've cooked pig's head before, which is a famous French delicacy where I live. Oh no, it was horrible.
Was it?
It was horrible. So basically, it's a dish. What's it called? Tête au veau.
Right.
And it's a very famous French dish in the region where I was living at the time. It was right outside of Le Mans, you know, where the famous racing was. It was a little village right outside Le Mans where I was living, and then I was studying in Le Mans in a college there, culinary college, and and I was living and working in a hotel, and you know, as a chef there, and they would put this dish on, and it was boiled sheep's head. I think it's sheep. Boiled sheep's head.
Right.
And it's the whole head, right? So the whole head's going in, like everything, and you know, just the skin's removed, and it goes straight in. And then you know, you're slicing bits off of it, so the cheeks mostly. But the smell, oh my god, the smell! It was the most horrendous thing, and it was made with a sauce that had gherkins in it as well. And so it was this. Then you would end up with this vinegary scent in the air because everyone's finally chopping up gherkins, and it was just. I mean, it made me so queasy every single time. I was going to
say, boiling a head is never going to smell good. Roasting a pig's head, brilliant.
I mean, roasting generally, you know, you get some nice flavor. Some sense from the flame and the the caramelization and all that. But just, I mean, boiling offal in general, like tripe and stuff. Oh my goodness.
No.
Yeah, it was so.
When you mention offal, breakfast the kings. Devil kidneys.
What's that?
Devil kidneys. Oh, it's just kidneys, but you just dashing a bit of flour with mustard and Worcester sauce in flour and a little bit of water just to help loosen it, and some bacon. Victorian breakfast, but it's like.
I was going to say, it sounds very British.
Yeah. Devil kidneys for breakfast with half a Guinness. That's my ideal birthday breakfast.
Wow. See, offal is one of those things I've never managed to get on board with. Like, I understand. I mean, I think it's just because I was never shown how to cook it, aside from this head thing. Whether it was in culinary school with my mum or anything. Like, we occasionally had like chicken liver and you know, bacon as a kid, but it was very rare, and it was mostly my dad that ate it. Like, we didn't.
Do you remember liver at school in school dinners? Did you school in?
We never had that.
God, it was terrible.
Well, that's not right. Everything was terrible. I mean, they managed to make chips taste like shit. You know what I mean? Like, how do you fuck up a potato? Like, they somehow made potatoes shit. They'd make peas crap. Like, how do you fuck up a pea? Like, you know, seriously. Like,
I would remember the sprouts that just sort of. I like a sprout, but
I love a sprout. But this is the thing about like vegetables overall. There are a lot of people that don't like certain vegetables, right? Or green vegetables as a whole. And it's like, well, because everyone overcooks them. Yeah. That's why. Like, everything tastes like crap if you overcook it. And a sprout is a great example of that. People overcook them.
Terrible when overcooked.
And they taste awful. They get really bitter. But actually, I like them raw. I prefer actually having them raw or just very lightly pan fried, like shredded and pan fried. You know?
I don't like carrots.
Oh really? How come?
I know it's a weird one, but I still put one on my plate. If there's one there, I always like the color, and because it was drilled into me as a kid, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
And I realized in my mid 30s or early 40s, I really don't like carrots, and I was just like, oh god.
What, cooked carrots or raw carrots or both?
Huh?
Cooked, raw, both.
Just not bothered with them at all. Really not.
Really?
But I will always put one on my plate. I don't know why. It's just so ingrained in me now that know, Sunday roast day.
But something in the back of your head is thinking, I'm going to get a smack around the back of the head if I don't put it on my plate. Yeah. But that's the thing. Again, though, like most of the time, people don't like, like boiled carrots because they're just mush and they don't taste of anything. And they just, especially because if most people eat these things from school dinners, so the association is like overcooked peas, overcooked broccoli, overcooked whatever. The amount of people I know that don't like broccoli, I'm like, are you mad? Broccoli is like one of the best vegetables. Yeah, same. It's a beautiful vegetable. Like, let me cook it for you, and then I cook it, and they're like, okay, I like it now. It's like, yeah.
Basically, a lump of meat and something green is my sort of
likewise.
But yeah, a lump of meat and something green. My dog loves carrot, bizarrely.
Right. Yeah.
Every meal, grate a carrot into his food, and it's all gone.
What dog do you have?
we have a short-haired Saluki who's asleep on the couch over there at the moment. Actually, can I do a shout out to a charity?
Yeah, go for it. You shout out however you want. Yeah.
We got our dog through a charity called Project Galgo.
Project what?
Project Galgo. Galgo is Galgo. Project Galgo. So Galgos are basically Spanish greyhounds. So they look the same as sort of greyhounds. So they're all basically a sight hound, skinny noses, thin. But what happens in Spain? There's this. So the Galgos every year. So what happens is Galgaleros. And Galgaleros are like the hunting community, traveler community type thing. I might be describing them wrong, so forgive me if I am. But basically what happens is the king sponsors a coursing cup. So there's a prize fund at the end. And what happens is a certain group of people, and they've just been, this is the way they've grown up. Their father did it, the grandfather did it, the grandfather before that did it. And so it's ingrained. So they are breeding and breeding Galgos, in the hope that they have one really fast one. All the rest of them, 100,000 dogs a year, are basically binned. But they're not just got rid of in a nice way. Legs broken, thrown in rivers, thrown in wells, doused in acid. There's a thing called this fucks me off. There's a thing called the piano dance. Sorry, everyone that's going to listen to this, where they hang the dog by its neck from a tree, and its feet can only just touch the ground. So it's just hopping on its two hind legs, and it takes days to die, and it's got a name, and it's called the piano dance. I mean, it's just...
Why? Why the fuck do they do that? Is it entertainment or something? That's sick.
I just don't know. Anyway,
just put them down. If you really want to do it, just put them down.
Yeah, but yeah, I just don't get it. So there's a big problem there, and there's 100,000 a year. So there's a charity in England.
100,000 a year. That's insane.
Oh, it's mental. So there's a charity called Project Galgo in Britain, which ties up with another charity in Spain, and what they do is they bring over dogs for people to either foster or adopt. And they also did a tie-up with a Saluki charity in Bahrain. And so we were going to be a foster parent. Hey, this is interesting. So when I set up Stroli, and as I mentioned earlier, I never did any of the social media stuff because other people I could brief it and someone else did. So I never did social media for myself. I don't have social media accounts. But when I set up my company, obviously I needed a Facebook, I needed an Instagram and all that. To set up a Facebook account for your company, you need a personal Facebook account. So I had to set myself up. And at that point, I had no friends, no interests, no connections to anyone. And after about a week or so, I got one thing in my newsfeed, and it was from Project Galgo. And it's saying they needed foster parents for their dogs. And I was like, yes, I'm in. So strange. I mean, talk about something good coming out of social media. So I met Helena that runs this little charity. They've got Nick Cave on now as a patron, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah,
I mean, he's what a legend. So we got a dog with no ears. Someone basically he'd lived on the street, been abandoned. Someone sliced his ears off, not even docked, just sliced, burnt him with cigar lighters. And he's this beautiful, rounded character, got no issues with people. So I help them sometimes. So if anyone wants to donate, Project Galgo is always looking for funds. I do a small donation every month, but if you're looking to foster or you're looking to adopt, please reach out to Project Galgo, a charity I really, really respect and like. And the lady that runs it, Helena, is wonderful. But yeah, feel free to contact me if you want an introduction with regard to that or you're of interest.
Oh, good shout out.
Yeah,
that's so bizarre. I was never aware of that issue in Spain. Is that unique to Spain?
Yeah, it is that one. I mean, we've got animal cruelty all over the place. So it's
but this particular thing.
But these are.
And they're are they a type of breed of greyhound or something?
Yeah, so they're all sight hounds at the end of the day. I think that one on the left with the big ears is a Podenco. Leela, I think, looks Podenco-y, but they're basically all sight hounds. And any sight hound, I don't know if people have this misconception like greyhounds that need loads of exercise. You couldn't be further wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're the perfect flat dog in London. They sleep 80% of a 24-hour period. They don't need much walking. I mean, I go off and do a 5K run around Regent's Park every other day. I don't run 2 days in a row. So he comes jogging with me most mornings, but a 20-minute to 25-minute walk in the morning and the evening, and then they sleep. Or
should have got that one of them instead of our dog.
Massive walks as well, but he'll walk on a 20-mile all-day walk with me as well. But like in terms, they're not a high-maintenance dog. They're very placid, really caring, and is a lovely addition to our home.
I suppose it makes sense because they're I mean they're fast, but they go on it's a sprint, right? Yeah. It's not like they're running marathons. It's a very different thing.
Exactly.
So the burst of energy, and then they're probably knackered for a while after that, right?
100%. Lovely animals. Big fan of anything sight houndy.
Oh, there you go. See, now I'm not usually a fan of my wife Anna. She loves greyhounds. She loves dogs in general, but she loves greyhounds. So she's always said, can we get a greyhound or a pug? And I think both of those types of dogs are a little bit ugly, personally, right? One looks like a skeleton, the other looks like Jabba the Hutt. So I'm not particularly interested in either one. But looking at these guys, they look quite cute.
Yeah, they're nice. It's just the temperament is fantastic. Because you don't want, I mean, if I had, I don't know, a sheepdog or a spaniel, it'd be round my feet right now. I'd be wanting to get out. I don't think people pay attention to what, isn't that dog cute?
Right, They don't think about how it's going to fit into their lives.
No. Do you really understand the temperament of a dog?
Yeah.
One of the things I do recommend, if you don't have a dog, maybe foster first. Talk to someone that needs fostering. And because the other thing that happened, we were going to get a galgo from Spain, and they visited our house. They understand who we were, the family dynamic, and so they get a bit of an understanding of what the dogs are. A fosterer's role is to take the dog on a journey. Because what happens when people adopt? They often give dogs back because they go, well, this dog's not what I wanted. So as a fosterer, your job is to understand the animal's sort of peculiarities, any dietary requirements, what issues it may have. And then when the dog is going for adopt, or you can be helping to solve those issues, it's really rewarding fostering. But then when an adopter is going to take the dog, they know what they're getting into. They know what they've got. Or I've sorted everything out before then. But the stage before that, the charity's very careful to what kind of dog they put with us. Because obviously, they're not going to go, well, we don't know this dog at all. You can't put him in a family with kids. So they do take sort of, they do look at. And then they said to us, we were going to give you whatever dog, but we're going to give you Ramsey. I definitely got played there beautifully because I was a fosterer, and the next thing I know, I've adopted, and they call you're basically a foster fail if you adopt. So I'm technically known as a foster fail.
That's beautiful. Oh, well, I mean, a horrific story, but beautiful outcome, I suppose I should say.
It is. They're a lovely chat.
Yeah, I'll look into this. Not that we could probably manage with another body running around at the moment, but maybe in the future when we upgrade the home and everything like that again, because we've got a German Shepherd. And,
you're used to a decent sized dog.
Yeah. But he's fun. He's a pain in the ass, but he's where is he? I don't even know where he is. Probably outside. But no, he's adorable. But my goodness, it's funny because I never used to be a dog person. I couldn't stand it, and I couldn't understand people who were dog people. I used to be a cat person. I was raised with cats, right? Like not like literally raised by cats or anything, but like there was always a cat in the household. And it was my wife when I met her. She absolutely adored dogs. She was even working part-time when we met, actually, in a like a doggy daycare center. Right. Okay. She loved dogs, and I was saying, I'm not a fan. And over the years, she just broke me down.
The gradual dripping of water until you suddenly came in.
Yeah, and she's allergic to cats as well. So we were like, I want to get a pet. And I'm allergic to cats. I was like, fuck's sake. Okay, right. Well, let's look into this dog thing. And I just kept looking into it. And then one day, my brother, out of nowhere, a few years back, just sent a message, and he's always loved dogs, which is weird because we were brought up in the same household, but he always loved them. And he one day sent me a WhatsApp message and say, look at this, I've just got this fella, and it was a beautiful little 1 week old German Shepherd puppy. Right. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Like I fell in love. Like, I'd slowly been broken down, and then I saw a puppy. And the thing is, with a puppy too, like I've always found the puppies cute, but it's when they're big and you have to clean up their shit and walk them every 5 minutes. I'm like, oh no, I don't know about that. I like a cat because it takes care of itself. Yeah. It's like, that's the thing about it that I love. And then I was like, oh mate. I was like, well, does this breeder have any others? Because I've been thinking about it for a while, about just surprising my wife, with this. And I'd been looking as well by this point, but I couldn't find anything. And plus, everyone's charging like £5,000, £6,000 because this is just after the pandemic, so everyone's milking it, And it was like, well, funnily enough, his brother. So he had got a dog named Cody. It was like his brother that was meant to be picked up today, and she just told me that fell through. Do you want me to ask if he's still available? I was like, yeah, do it. Why not? Screw it. Let's see what happens. And it's like, yep, still available. Do you want me to go and pick him up? Because he lives, far away. He's like, do you want me to pick him up? I can drop him down. I was like, yes, do it. So by that point, I'd already showed my wife, said, look what my brother just, got a Cody. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, can we get one? And I was like, playing it off like, no, I told you, we'll never get a dog. That's my rule. And then he comes down with Cody, the dog that he bought. Brilliant. And he's like, and I'm like, he's coming down to show us, the dog that he's got. And everyone thought that was Cody, the dog. And then playing around, literally here, like where we are right now, my son's there. He's, he was 7 at the time, and my wife, and they're all playing. I'm loving such a beautiful dog. And he's like, and my brother's like, Ro, I'm gonna have to go soon. And the inevitable thing that a woman always says in this situation, whether it's a baby or a puppy, is, oh, can you leave him here? And I knew she was going to say that, so I told my brother, I said, say yes. So he went, yeah, but you're going to have to think of a name first. And she was like, really confused. She looks at me and was like, well, what do you mean? Like, his name's Cody. So no, he hasn't got a name yet. This isn't Cody. And she was like, what? So you're going to have to think of a name. And she was
How long did it take the penny to drop?
It took a while. And then he was like, wait a minute. So he went into the car, came out, and he had a blank birth certificate. And he was like, there you go. I was like, surprise.
Oh, I love it.
And she just started screaming, crying. And she was like, what? And my son was like, oh my God, like that. It's like, this is ours. And I was like, yeah. God. So I go in the outhouse. It's full of dog stuff. There's a crate. There's like all those. I bought it all. It was all there. It's like, no way. And then straight away, she was like, Merlin. His name is Merlin.
Oh my God, you got dad and husband of the year in one.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how quickly they fucking forget.
I love the way how you got it in there as well. Like,
yeah,
they thinking one thing and then suddenly, oh, that's beautiful. Love that.
It was a good little.
What do you just randomly while on dogs? And I keep seeing all this stuff in the news about these American bullies and all that sort of stuff and banning breeds and whatever else. I don't know how to think about it. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, so like, I don't know. Can you ban a breed? I mean, I get, because all dogs have traits. Like he's a sight hound, then he. You get retrievers, they retrieve, pointers point, sheepdogs herd, and they are basically bred from a fighting dog. Yeah, and fighting dogs fight. So I just don't know what, and I just don't know what I think.
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I think because there are some dogs that need to be bred to have violent tendencies for security, guard dogs, that kind of thing, and so I was thinking about this today. Funny enough, when I was walking Merlin this morning, I was like, is it sensible as a dog owner to train your dog to attack? I was thinking about that because I've seen training, done on that, like police dogs. These are, obviously German Shepherd. And I was thinking, and they do that with German Shepherds. They train them to attack, don't they? They, very specific thing from puppy, where they have a trigger word or an instruction or whatever, and then they attack. And I was thinking, would that be something sensible for a homeowner to do to protect their home? And I said, well, probably not, because anything can set them off. Yeah. And I suppose it's a similar sort of thing. It's like if you have a breed that is, inclined to aggressive behavior or very quick to it, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not really into banning a breed per se. But it's just like, but I don't understand why. And everyone says, oh, it's such a softie. But then
I think it should just be more regulated. I think that's what it should come down. But like you were just saying, a lot of people get a dog without understanding the temperament. I think you should just have a permit or a license of some kind, some way of just proving that you are a responsible dog owner. Because at the end of the day, you're taking you're bringing a life into your home, and it's a wild animal. It's a domesticated animal, but it's an animal.
Yes, it is.
And that's unpredictable. Even the most tamest of dogs can snap and do horrible things because of anything can happen, right? So there has to be, I think, some response. But in the same way that you could buy other kinds of dangerous animals like a crocodile or a tiger, you can buy those in the UK, but you need to have a license in order to do that.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Yeah, fair point.
So maybe that's
by the whole thing, and I just don't know what to think about it. And then it's because it's in the public consciousness now. And I was walking down the road, and I was thinking, do I cross the road or not? And it's really, I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
But I'm walking with my dog. Will he get? And it has set a level of it's changed, sort of my general thought process, and I can't work out if it's right, wrong, good, bad. I've got.
It's never that simple, is it? I mean, the thing is as well, people are fucking stupid. So, the amount of
agree on,
right, because the amount of times I'll be walking Merlin and a complete stranger will just walk straight up to him and try and stroke him, and it's like, what are you doing? And I have to pull him back because he starts snapping. It's like, I love dogs, and it's like, well, you clearly don't understand them. Like, you should not do that. There was one time a little girl almost lost her fucking arm because walking on the other side of the pavement was a little girl. She mustn't have been any older than 5 or 6, and a mother. And the mother's not paying attention to what her little girl's doing. And she runs, as they walk past, she then turns around and goes to stroke him from behind. Right. And immediately, obviously, my Merlin, he's like that.
Yeah.
And luckily, I clock it because I see her sort of getting closer, and I think she's going to come from behind. So I'm ready, and I pull just in time. But he was going for it like that, and the woman's like doesn't even apologize, doesn't even say no, you shouldn't do that or anything. So I had to say, you should never do that to a dog, to this absolute stranger of a little girl. Never come up behind from a dog, and never even go near a dog you don't know. Ask permission. And this woman was just like gormless, like with her phone out, it's like, fuck's sake.
You just walk up and just get in your face. You wouldn't do it to a person. Don't do it to definitely don't do it to an animal.
Big teeth. Yeah, exactly.
When I get can I stroke your dog? Thank you so much for asking. You've done the right thing. Well done. You should always do that. Of course you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, for every idiot, there's plenty of people who are very polite and ask. But especially when he was a puppy, obviously a lot more people want to stroke a puppy. And so it was every 5 minutes. We couldn't go anywhere without, can I stroke him? Can I stroke him? Now he's a bit bigger, it's a bit different. But I mean, that was a nightmare. You couldn't get anywhere. Like, it was just one thing after the other. And so many people would ask. And eventually I just started saying no. Right. Because it was taking me too long to get anywhere. I'd have half an hour to walk in, and I've got to get to work, and it would take me 45 minutes an hour because every 5 minutes I was like, no, sorry, he's in training.
There's a woman that lives in Belsize Park, and she hasn't seen him for a while, so she's either moved but she used to have a house rabbit.
Right.
And it was a big, I don't know what they're called, but it was a big unit, a lop or something, I think. And she used to take it for walks down into the village, and she was like the Pied Piper of children, because she would go into the village to go, mobbed. Can I touch a rabbit? And you could see just like, she really
but that's your own fault for walking a fucking rabbit. Like, come on, what do you expect?
And I'm just like, bloody hell. If I sort of, I've got to take my dog home. I mean, that's to a sight hound, a rabbit. Well, I'm eating it. I want to eat it.
They're not going to be friends anytime soon, are they? Yeah. But I mean, if you're walking a rabbit, come on, you want attention. Like, I'm sorry, but like that's right. Yeah, like it's like walking a crocodile or something. You're not going outside walking that thing because you don't want people to stare at you. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my god. But yeah, that's funny old world. I'm trying to think what else has been going on recently. So fundraising, business. Yeah, have you got any advice for me about finding investors? I mean, obviously you said I know some investors, but what would you suggest?
Oh God, good question. I mean, well, like I said, my predominantly my main advice at the moment is don't do it. because like you pointed out, it's like it's harder than ever right now. I mean, as we know, the bar for the expectations of investors now has been raised significantly across the board, right? So what's expected, what was previously only expected to be seen in terms of numbers and regarding traction or revenue or any of that kind of stuff, in Series A has now been pushed all the way down to seed. Right, that's so the criteria from angels and syndicates and family offices now pretty much matches exactly that of VC funds. Right, it's almost identical across the board. So they expect to see significant traction, significant feedback, or at the very least that you're working with a community that you're being able to continuously iterate or whatever. And obviously, ideal primarily with software, so that's maybe more important there. So that's why I think my advice primarily with tech startups is, if you've just got 10 users on a beta, that's not enough. Go out and get 10,000. Like, that's what you need to do, and these are the steps to do it. because that's obviously the thing that's most difficult to figure out in a lot of cases. But I think, honestly, I think the advice I would have given is what you're already doing, which is the personalized approach. Don't do it en masse.
Yeah.
You know, and actually bear in mind, because, you know, you were saying like they're not willing to they're not sort of there saying, give me your money. I think that's kind of not entirely true about most investors, actually. Like, an investor's job, their entire company is built around the fact of giving people money. They want to give people money. They want to buy shares in companies. Obviously, their process is just to mitigate the risk and increase the chances of that share that they buy increasing in value over a period of time. So they're very keen. And in fact, they spend a lot of their time building pipeline, right? That's what they do. Right. What they want to do is they're always continuously trying to find ways. And I know this as an ex-angel, because I've been recently taking a break now to focus on my business financially.
So I'm talking to an ex-investor.
Well, yeah, and not by yeah, but not by, you know, not a huge portfolio and not necessarily huge ticket investments, but yeah, like I dabbled in it, let's say, and I know firsthand, and from speaking to my contemporaries, I guess you could say, in angel investing and other forms of investment, that you're constantly looking to build a pipeline, but you need to find new innovative ways of filtering that pipeline, right? Just like with anyone else, you want to make it match your investment thesis. You want to, you know, make sure you're getting the best types of founders with the best backgrounds and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And so they're willing to do it, but you just need to stand out, right? Yeah. Like, you need to get that match as quickly as possible. And if the person who is seeking investment is doing a lot of that heavy lifting for you, like you said, like, you know, I've looked at your profile as an investor, I've seen what you've invested in before, I've checked your interest, I've read your investment thesis or whatever it might be. Yeah. And so I think we're a good match. That's like, oh, okay, that's going to stand out from the thousands of just pitch decks and boilerplate template emails they get, or, you know, LinkedIn messages they get every fucking month. Like, that's going to stand out. Good. So, you know, that's the important thing. Just don't waste people's time. Yeah. You know,
the thing for me on it is the phrase I use in my head is person of interest.
Yeah,
that's what you are a person of interest to me.
Right, exactly.
You know, why are you interesting to me? Yeah, no, that's the way. Well, it's good to hear at least I'm on the right path.
I would say so. Also, experiment with different ways or messaging in a sense. Like, I think a lot of people are too eager to want to say everything about themselves and the business in the first contact. And just like in sales, you know, I always equate it to like being in a networking situation, right? If you're in a networking event, you don't go straight up to people and go, "Hi, my name is Greg McCallum. I'm a commercial advisor and fractional CCO. Last year we turned over this much." That's fucking awful. That's just pitch slapping someone. Yeah. You know, you've got to start slow and engage and you know, not reveal too much and explore it over time. And that's the same in sales outreach or in investment outreach, in my view.
Interesting you're saying about not doing it all in one. So I'm doing a three email strategy, and if I haven't got anything by the third, fine. So the first one is basically my sort of outreach and why I've identified them, and I give them a little bit about the company and offer to share my one pager. If I get something back from that, which I have and started conversations, then I start from that. But if I don't hear back, I'm still going to send my one pager. And then the next bit, I talk about the value in my sector that you can get when coming out of it, because I haven't mentioned exit values and PE ratios. I've got to try and quantify it somehow. They're really healthy in my sector, actually, really healthy. So then I talk about that. And then if I don't hear back from that, my third and final email, I've got a nice little sort of commercial I made for ourselves, and I send that, and then I put another statement about what the company can achieve. So there are three. If they actually read, oh, it's him again, and then so there is a stream of information through the three emails, and they're quite short. They're only 2-3 paragraphs at most. Yeah. But and then if I don't get anything back on the third, then I'm not going to keep pestering someone. But I generally get more response to my third email than I do from my first email.
Maybe make that your first email.
Yeah.
You save yourself a job.
Lovely, clear logic. I'm going to make a note of that. I was thinking, God, I've got to reply to him after these three. Yeah. Maybe make that.
Maybe that's what it is. It's just whatever's in there. The third one is, you said, where there's a video.
Yes.
Well, that's maybe why, because people love video content. Like that's what I was going to suggest. I mean, there are two things that I would suggest there as well. Like you know, a lot of that information can be had in the conversation, and it would be better to give that context in the conversation for a lot of that, the data points and stuff like that, the exit strategy and so on. A lot of these outreach, the best kind of outreach I've ever had is just, hey, I've come across your profile. I noticed you've invested in X and Y. You seem like a really interesting person. I would love to talk about how we can work together.
A friendly reminder to share this episode with your network, subscribe for more, and join the conversation in the comments. It really helps us out. Thank you.
But more than anything, can we just jump on a call so I can pick your brains about this and see if there's a good fit, right?
Because I'm not asking for money in my first instance.
Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is, like, don't do it in any of them. Like, then it's just the follow-up email is like,
I'm looking for people to join me, and I will be looking for advice in the future. I mean, I'm selecting people that have skill sets.
Right, right.
You've exited 3 times. You need to be on board with me because this will be good. And you've got an interesting consumer.
Right.
Along this journey, we will be helpful to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of my point. Is like the second email, in my view, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is just what I would do and what I probably will do for my company. Is then say, well, the second email is just, I'm just checking that you got the last email. I would really love to jump on that meeting to learn more about your previous exits and tell you a little bit more about what I'm doing and what my plans are. Third email is, I know I'm sorry to be a pain. I just really want to arrange that meeting. It's like, there's no need to reveal any more information. It's just like, we want to have a meeting, and I think that's a mistake a lot of the time that is made in sales too, where it's like information dump more and more because you think, well, they didn't respond because they don't have enough information to respond. It's like, no, the point of the call is just, the point of the email is just to get on a call to discuss things. Yeah. So it's like, look, I know you're busy, but like, please, let's just have a chat. Like, can I grab a coffee with you, a virtual coffee or whatever? It's like, that's the point. And I think sometimes keeping it simple and to just like say, can we book a meeting and just drive it towards that is the key. And at the end of the day, if they go, well, I'd need to know a little bit more before we book a meeting, then yeah, okay, give them a little bit more. So yeah, sure, I totally understand. Here's the video, here's a pitch deck. Ideally a very summarized version of the pitch deck, not the full thing, or not the pitch deck at all. Sometimes just a brief, like you said, a video or like just some brief points of what it is you're doing.
I mean, I've got all that stuff ready for whatever they want. If they want more, if someone asks me for my full pitch deck, they're getting my full pitch deck.
Right.
The point in terms of, well, I want to talk you through it.
Yeah.
Busy. I'm not. I get that. If you've asked for something and I come to you, I will give you.
But at the same time, there's no harm in saying no. Actually, no, not really. So like, it's interesting because of, if it depends how you say no, right? So if you were to say, look, I'd be happy to send it to you, but to be completely honest, I really prefer being able to have the opportunity to give you some context, and also more importantly, I want to know a bit more about you, and I'm sure you want to know a bit more about me. Yep. And then if it feels appropriate after we've had a chat to go through the pitch deck, I'll be more than happy to share it with you. But, is that okay? And I think the vast majority of people respond fairly positively with that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I had one person ask for the long form deck, so I sent it to them and then they ghosted me.
And that's what usually happens.
That did rile me a little bit.
Yeah. And that's what ordinarily happens the vast majority of the time. So it's like you've got to withhold a little bit, I feel like in these sort of things, and keep it focused on just, are we people that can get along?
Yeah,
I think that's the first point of call. It's like, I've identified you based on what I've learned about you online, that you're clearly an interesting person and you could add a lot to this business, and I would really like to explore that and give you the opportunity to learn a bit more about me. That's the first goal. That's it. It's like, is there a fit both ways? It's an even playing field, that there's no unbalance of power there. And then it's like, okay, well, so then we explore where it can go from there. But like, I would even say like a really good tool for introductions, and this works in sales too, is video prospecting. So like, things like Vidyard and Loom and stuff. Have you used any of those?
No, I haven't, but go on. I do know Loom.
Yeah, so very similar. I use Vidyard, but Loom is a very similar thing. It's just a Chrome extension, records your screen, and it's a really good thing to send to investors as an introduction. So instead of email message, it's a video message. And a great way of doing that is to have like your little video in the bottom, like the way that your little video is now in the bottom of this. And then the screen, you'll share like their LinkedIn profile or their website or whatever, and just be like, hey, whatever, John, I came across your profile. I've been reading through, what you've been up to, and you basically just do the same thing. Say the same things. But just in that format, you can quickly flash up your website, maybe, and say, this is me, this is what I do. I'd really love to.
How long would you keep that to, or short?
Like just a minute, like not even that. It's just a quick hello. I mean, basically, a couple of sentences. Just, this is me, this is you. Like, let's meet, let's talk. It's an introduction. That's all it is. In the same way that when you're in a networking situation, you just meet people and you have to make small talk. And it's like, we should talk more. We should go for a coffee. I think that's where people that, make a mistake with outbound in general, is they're too keen to just, do it all, because it's time consuming. So, I get it. You feel like you're being more efficient with time and your time. But at the same time, I think you can get a lot more done on a half an hour call or a 1 hour call than just back and forth with emails. Do you know what? Get on a call.
I was saying, because on these extra 4 days, once I've done my 5 days work that I've got,
right.
I'm going to look this weekend at sort of segmenting some new data out, and have a go on that. Love that.
Give it a go. I mean, like I said, it doesn't work for everyone, and I might be completely wrong. But to be honest, I think these days the connection between people is so much more important than anything else. And just getting people to meet you. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, generally, because I'm an advocate. I used to present a lot. Do you know what I mean? I mean, in theory, hopefully people agree when they listen to this. But like, I should be all right face to face.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Or I'm deluded, but like, I should be able to communicate with people, and I think that's I hope it's one of my skills. I think it is.
No, I would agree. You're a good communicator. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on the podcast. So.
Oh yes, thank you very much.
And you wouldn't have done what you have done, in your career, obviously, as well, which is an important thing to point out. But it's like everything. When I speak to founders, I think we're so. And I'm guilty of this too with my own businesses, but we overcomplicate things, all the time. And it's like, people are just people. They just want to talk, and they love talking about themselves. So if you can just get play into that a little bit and be like, look, I want to learn a bit more about you. Like, I'm looking for investors, and and I think that's quite refreshing to receive something like that, which is like, oh, he wants me to pitch to them. To him, like, in a way, like, this is refreshing. Like, you fit the profile of the kind of investor that I'm looking for. I would love to pick your brains, hear more about your experience.
That's why I'm being on the first. Because you've got to get on with these people.
Right, exactly. And that's number one priority. And if you get on with them, they're far more likely to invest if they like you as a person, right?
Yeah. You've got to be able to get on with them.
And you could have an hour-long meeting with someone and not once show your pitch deck, not once talk about numbers, not once do anything. I know someone, for example, who was on the podcast recently, actually, Marchant, lovely bloke. You should definitely watch that episode. And he talks briefly about a point where one of the tips that he recommends is like, give everyone their 5 minutes. You're never too busy to give everyone their 5 minutes. And the reason why he said that is because if he said some of his early investors and some of the best investors he has are people he just met on the train. Right. Like, people he just started chatting to, and it turns out they've got money, and they want to invest in something. They're not on any list, right? They're not anywhere. They're not technically investors, but they want to invest in something, or they've invested in a thing. It's like just connecting with people. It's undervalued,
Yep. So generally, I'm pretty good on that. I know loads. Like in my neighborhood where I live. Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people that chats on the street. I'm generally
one of those people.
I am one of those. But it's great. I mean, because if you see people all the time, there's a woman that walks around her and she's got a whippet, and I was just like, for years she used to walk past me and just like, surely that's got to be really difficult not to sort of, you've got to be trained in spending more effort to ignore me.
No, trust me, it's not. I do that, and it's not.
I do. I made it my mission.
Because I'm thinking about a million different things as I'm walking, and speaking to anyone around me is definitely not one of those things.
I was like, I'm going to become friends with you, and I'm going to get a conversation. We chat all the time now.
Oh right. There's a lady around here actually that I bump into all the time walking Merlin, and we know the name of each other's dogs. We don't know each other's names.
Yeah. Oh, you always know the dog.
Yeah.
Always know the dog. You don't even recognize the owners. It's the
yeah. It's you. Yeah, you're attached to this dog. I just realized. Yeah.
Very good. What are you up to? What happens now how does your sort of week shape up generally? I mean, I explained mine in terms of like, I'm sort of 2.5, and then 4 days around. What do you?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I have no idea.
Do you not? I was
I have no
hoping to
idea.
get some sort of nugget or something.
Well, this month's kind of crazy, actually. It's a bit of an unusual month because I'm doing a lot of these recording sessions to, and then they're all being scheduled, obviously, out on a weekly basis. So, a lot of these are going to be, this month's worth of recording of episodes will scheduled right up until February of next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you're really diving in and
yeah.
Are you doing what? One of these a day? Two of these a day?
Well, so today I've got 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So today is just purely podcast recording.
God, I mean, I thought I was like, I can chat, but like you're going to do 3. I'm going to come off this.
Yeah.
When this, I'm going to go, God, I'm knackered.
Yeah.
You're going to do this 3 times.
3 times, and I did two yesterday, and then Thursday's technically my day off. So I try. Yeah, exactly. But that's jam packed as well now. So I wouldn't normally have this many recording sessions in a month or in a week even, and it will go back to sort of more like once, maybe twice a week max. Right. But I just want to get a good head start on this season, so there's plenty scheduled in until February, and then that will allow me to focus back on other things to do with the businesses, the consultancy work and everything else. And I do need to, I've got more capacity coming up for fractional work, which I need to look into.
Spin the plates so you can get money coming in.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You know how it is, So and then of course, same as you got the start, the other startup that I want to spin up, and just got to get it all going. But I do a lot of advisory work, a lot of pro bono work as well. Right. I keep busy. Work. Oh, really? I love it.
Well, no, it just because of my advertising background and just being, free. It's not much I admire about lawyers and solicitors, but the one thing I do admire is, yes, let's have a meeting. You can have half an hour for free, and then you start paying. And I just remember in my ad agency, like, wow, we're going to work for a month and spend 25 grand on this pitch, and we might not get it, and they might not buy any agency's work. Right. I mean, the system's just rubbish.
Well, that's it. I mean, for me, I've been thinking about doing pro bono work for a good couple of years, and I just finally decided this year to do it, and then I restructured my entire pricing. And it's funny, actually, going back to what we're talking about pricing, I've got a lot of criticism from the advisor and consultancy community, and then a lot of support as well, equally. But the problem I was having, and I think we spoke about this before, the problem I was having with it was the amount of people I was speaking to who are very, very early stage entrepreneurs and founders, don't have any money. And I could see that they were extraordinarily passionate about this thing. And that passion's infectious. That's why I love doing what I do and speaking to people like you, because it's just so infectious. And I really want people to succeed. And I was just unable to help them, and I wasn't able to sleep at night, and I don't sleep at night very well anyway. So this was even worse, and it made me feel incredibly guilty that I was speaking to these people who really wanted, all they needed was some very basic advice. It didn't need complex information from me or anything. It was actually very simple for me, right, to give them this advice. And it was just like, should I be charging £200 for a half an hour? Exploratory? No, I shouldn't. Like, I'll just give it to them, see what happens.
Adapt what I said, actually, because when I said I don't do pro bono work, I'm thinking for people that can afford to pay. And
right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I am always up to help people. I'm totally with you.
And that's the thing, though. I'm not doing actually any real work. Let's be honest. I'm just having a conversation with them. Yeah. They tell me, I ask a load of questions. Right, I'm just sharing my knowledge. And look, you could argue, well, that's an hour taken away where I could be finding new clients or working on a client project or working on my own business. And that's certainly true. So it does cost me money in that sense. Yeah. But I just get so much out of it, that it's so rewarding that I honestly don't mind. And look, it's not entirely selfless too, because, of course, the vast majority of these people that I speak with, if they do manage to successfully go on to the next steps that we sort of lay out, and they start running a fairly successful business and they can afford my services, well, then they will start using my services, right? And the way I've made my pricing is, that's why I'm known as the pay-as-you-scale commercial advisor. It starts extraordinarily low, like, so you can get in and have me once a month to just be a sounding board or whatever, really affordable. And then it can go up, and then it scales up, obviously, and then it goes right. But then when we get into the realm of fractional, work, that's when it is more the traditional, billable hours, kind of retainer and all that sort of thing. So it's, I'm doing things a bit differently because I want to help as many people as possible. I just think there's too much bullshit out there, basically.
On that note as well, because obviously people listen to your podcast.
Hopefully, all 2 of them. Yeah.
If one of you.
hello, Jim and Jane. Thanks for listening.
If people are listening to this, because I do have I'm not selling services and I don't have much time because I'm a busy person. But you use the term sounding board. If someone in a product space, if someone wants some thoughts on advertising and marketing, I am very happy for someone to DM me on LinkedIn. I'm not going to give you a week of my time. If someone wants a conversation, said, you've been in advertising, you've launched a product, do you want it? Can I have a chat for half an hour? Just to go through some issue or whatever. Very happy.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Give time on that sort of stuff.
And that's hugely valuable. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about, in your journey as being a founder, that you didn't realize so much about the startup space until you started to speak to people.
Exactly.
And networking. And like, that's something that I say to everyone is the number one priority in starting their entrepreneurial journey. Go to networking events, meet people, be active on LinkedIn, because the amount that you can learn in a 6-month period is astounding by doing that compared to just trying to do it all on your own. And taking people up on an offer like that is definitely a huge step in the right direction.
Because I mentioned earlier as well, startup to stand up.
Yes.
Really friendly bunch of people. I mean, there is a monthly fee, but the other thing, you can contact them. They don't bring anyone on board. It's basically a cohort self-help group. I don't even really know how to present. It's an idea sharing platform. We generally have a conversation on a Wednesday morning at 8:30. Then there's one on Tuesday. And I think they select who they keep in, but I normally hate anything that's like, hey, let's get together in a group and a chest beating exercise. And
sing Kumbaya and
aren't I fantastic? And this is a general sharing, and it's a mix of big company owners, wealthy people starting out in a business, a startup. So when you have an issue in a business, they start with like, anyone got anything they'd like to float this morning? Someone will have a question. It's like having a board or an advisory team, because you've got all people from all different walks of life. So, you might say, I've got a problem with this. Bam. You suddenly get people from different backgrounds giving you opinions. The advice is fantastic. Sometimes I'll sit silent for a week. Obviously, I know you think that's hard to believe, but it does happen. But if I've got something then to share with someone, I will share. Or if I've got questions for the group, I'll put it to the group. And then you come back to these founders. Everyone's really friendly. I've met some lovely people, like literally, like I've reached out. Catherine Ann, who runs Docket. I didn't really know, but like she's in. Can I ask you a couple of questions? Yes, you can. She's ace. Sharam, who's been running Allbricks, brilliant person, really helpful. Kimberly, who's running ISIS Connect, really helpful people. And unless you actually go, hi, I'm doing this, and like, can we have a, founders are helpful to each other. I really do believe that. And again, come back to what I said, I wasn't even part of the founder community when I was setting this up. I wasn't part of it when I was in my advertising agency. So it's only in end of November that I discovered this Founderverse, for one of another one.
Founderverse, that's good. I like
Founderverse.
That. Yeah,
you heard it here, coined by me.
Quickly trademark that.
Quick. But it's a great place to be. It's not easy, but we are all there for each other. We really are.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, just to tie that back into founder to investment, like the fundraising side of things too. I think that's a really important thing. You said, just ask people, right, for for a bit of their time. That's basically the approach I think it should be when it's in an outreach. It's just like, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time? That's all I want.
Or the ones I've met are, I mean, like Kimberly at Outreach, ISO Connect, Kim, I was saying I'm just not good enough. I'm not about myself, but I don't. This is about finding investors. I said at the beginning and she's like, no, what do you mean you're not good enough? I said, I want to be better. And I said, like, can you? Because she completed a raise, and I'm just like, I get you might be really good at this, and I seriously need to learn something. Can you help? She was like, let's talk tomorrow. She put an hour aside. Right, what's happening in this? Let's have a chat. Gave me some constructs and like gave me some gave me my confidence back, because I was saying I've got that sort of, I had problems to deal with.
Yeah. It can be a bit of a knock.
Yeah, great group of people.
Another really, I think, fairly strong piece of advice that I give people is when they're pitching. So when you actually get to the pitching stage, either if you're on stage pitching or if you're in a boardroom, whatever it might be, but if you're actually pitching to investors or anything in general, really, I think it's so important to frame everything, your company and your pitch in a narrative format. I think that's so important. In the same way that you've come on today and you've told me the story of you and the story of how Stroli came to be, like that is such a powerful way, and why I love doing this show of explaining who you are, that you're the right person for this venture, and that you're going to make it successful, and why you started the business, etc., etc., etc. Like I think that's just so much more powerful than just let me introduce you to Stroli. This is the data. Like that isn't memorable. People don't work like that, biologically. I've talked about this at length before in other episodes. Like we are hardwired as human beings to be emotionally drawn and connected to stories with heroes and ups and downs, and that's why don't shy away from the hard points. Like that's actually riveting.
Yeah, my low points as well.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely, because that makes people emotionally engaged in your arc, in your story, because no one wants to see someone just succeed. Like that's boring. When you watch a movie or read a book, the hero has to have a low point before they overcome. Right? Exactly. Yeah, you are. It's the hero's journey, right? It's the archetypical hero journey.
Because what I hate about social media is everyone's too fucking positive. Like you really can't. I mean, it's just. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing so well
on LinkedIn. Maybe you clearly haven't spent very much time on Twitter or Reddit.
No, I haven't. No, I just. But I mean, you scroll through. I mean, I have got caught in this doom scroll a few times on Instagram, and I see and I follow a lot of people, and I look at a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, and it's just like, is everyone doing really, really well?
Everyone's doing well. Yeah.
Everyone's doing well. Everyone's happy, and no one's got any issues. What's going on with me? You know what I mean?
Well, it's because everyone's got a boss or a shareholder, right? So no one wants to be, pulled up into the office. Like, why were you sharing that negative?
Right.
That's the problem.
What's interesting you say about boss or a shareholder? One of the things. So the last time I worked, when I say worked, I mean I work all the time, but I mean worked like on a PAYE as an thing was. A long time ago. I might have been 31 or something, 30. But one of the things that I do like about having this is that I don't like top-down pressure. I've realized. I mean, you're obviously going to have pressure from an investor. You've always got some kind of, but like when you had the boss, like, have you done this? And then looking at it, is that good enough? I do remember that back in the day, like to the board, and that top-down pressure I found is worse than the pressure I give myself.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of stress in, like, where's the money going to come from? Is this going to hold together? There's a lot of plates to spin.
I think a lot of that comes down to just not knowing where you stand a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Right. There's ambiguity in knowing how you're perceived by other people. So, did I do a good job? Okay. Yeah, I did a good job. Do they think I did a good job? Am I going to keep my job? Like, it's this constant, uncertainty as to where you stand with someone and how you're regarded by them. That I think is the ultimate anxiety driving force between.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah. But whereas if it's just you, it's like, well, and that's why it's so important with company, setting up a company culture to try and be as clear as possible from the beginning. That what I say is what I think. So if I'm unhappy, I will tell you. If I appreciate what you did, I will tell you. And then that way you don't create that ambiguity in your employees, and they feel safe and relaxed, and they can do their job.
It's interesting you mentioned about company culture and how it's set up. So at the moment, how I've set Stroli up, it's all on. I love freelance resource, but never treat freelancers like freelancers.
Right.
Freelancers are your team. Don't. There's always a bit too many people who do just dismissive of. I don't mean dismissive of their work, but they don't get treated right. I don't think half the time. I love a freelancer because one, they get work. They understand the commercial imperative because they obviously need to get their job done. It's a bit extreme to say you're only as good as your last job, but they need to be doing a good job.
In some ways, yeah.
And they're constantly focused on what their business is, what they're doing. I always thought an in-house designer that works inside a client's house is not as good as a designer that works in an advertising agency that's working across a lot of different people's projects.
Yeah.
I like freelancers because they get it. When you're explaining a brief that you need to do, they get it. and they run with it, and they've got parameters. And then when I do grow, I will be taking on some employees, but I quite like the outsourcing model.
Yeah.
Get the right people and they're good. But I think I want to have it as quite a flat structure. You just need to be able to because I don't want to be micromanaging people. I'm not a micromanager. You know, here you are. If you've got questions for me, you don't understand, I will do all I can to help you. Let's get you up and running. We can, and then but I want you to be like a freelancer. Right, that's mine. Right, I'll do that. We all have to be in contact with each other to manage the process. But I don't want someone. I'm not a boss. I might run the company. I'm not a bad manager, but like I don't really want to manage you. But let's that is management, I suppose. I'm a very loose manager. It's about
you're managing projects then and expectations as opposed to really sort of cracking the whip. I suppose it's different. But that flat style is definitely increasingly popular in the startup world. And I've spoken at length with various people on this series and in person about how I honestly believe that the future of business is this agency-based way of doing things, where vast majority of departments and companies is going to be outsourced. Over the next 10 years, and it'll be very, very rare to find a company that actually has any department that is all fully employed. That you'll have a sales department that's fully outsourced, a marketing department that's fully outsourced, a financial department, HR, like all of it is going to be completely outsourced. And there may be a handful of full-time employees, and there will be the executive team probably. Right. And even then, a couple of the executives will probably be fractional. Where you can have
as a chief plate spinner.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But because I know individuals that, like myself, who are fractional, who have created agencies, and they have a whole team behind them. So, like in development, in fact, the very first episode I recorded of this is with a development house agency, I should say, in London. And they do exactly this, where they embed themselves as a fractional CTO in the company. They own shares in the company, and they have a team in their agency that takes care of all the development. But they do way more than just provide development services. They are the CTO for the company. And that's a great model for them, for the business, because of, they as and when they need the service, it goes up and down and it can flex. And, that sometimes there's a lot of development work, sometimes there's not, just like sometimes there's a lot of marketing work, sometimes there's not. And that's the biggest problem for most businesses, is trying to keep everyone busy. And of course, what you inevitably do is come up with projects that don't need to be done, have meetings that don't need to be had, just to justify everyone being on the fucking payroll. And that's where you have problems. And of course, you then suddenly need to lay people off if there's a problem, or things like that. So whereas
I've had to do a round of redundancies, and it's just
not fun.
Awful. It's horrendous. I mean,
whereas with this model, it can expand and contract. Given the economic climate, given whatever's going on in the business or in the economy, to suit the situation. I'm a strong believer in that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. But look, I just realised the time. Already.
Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
I told
you it goes, doesn't it? It really does. Sorry.
I think this has been good.
You enjoyed it? Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
I know if you've enjoyed it, but if I get an invite back another time later on.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say, you took the words out of my mouth. We should definitely do it again. And this is a common I say this to everyone, and I honestly mean it, because, when the time flies, especially, which it does in all of these, which is great. Like, I haven't once been clock watching at any one of these. So that's a good sign. I've got some good guests. I definitely want a part 2 to hear the updates and what's been going on.
Hopefully I've done it. I've got the product. I've got my funding. I've launched properly in the UK, not a soft launch, a full launch. I've got extra product development already in market that's happening. Because on the next purchase, it's a big purchase with some of the other product tests.
Right. Okay.
So I'm just going to slot some of the stuff in my containers that come over.
Well, very briefly, what are some of the other products you're working on? Can you talk about them, or?
I might even. Yeah. So basically, it's more bags of various degrees. Basically just. Yeah, shopping bags made out of canvas this time, quite stylishly done with bits of recycled metal that hang on them. It's another way of doing it. I'm developing a product that's very small that wraps up and could go into a handbag. That one didn't work, so I've got to redo that. Hang on, give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, sure. Go
People see this?
Yeah.
Okay. Just discovered that now. And then let's see if I can open. Right, here we go. Here's an example of failure, which I haven't quite finished with yet.
Right.
So, oops, tripping over, because I'm doing stuff with aluminium.
Right.
And it's not, so that's flat. I've got to work out how it folds and stuff. But in reality,
oh, very cool. Why is that a failure?
Well, it's not really. It's not the development because that doesn't lock properly.
Okay.
I want to work out how this connects, and I think I want to get another fold in it somehow.
Right.
But like I think because there's different types of people in the market. Some people, for example, say the weekend, because I've got various target audiences. I'm now going to start off again, but I've got various target audiences. And like, say, for example, the target audience that sits in my sort of set, the 50-year-old, the destination shop, the farmer's market shop. I'm going out on Saturday morning and I'm going to do the glory cook, just like I call it.
Yeah. Buying some cheeks.
Yeah. So people will go, I'm going to use, and I've got some feedback on it. People quite like it. It's just not right in terms of the product. So I've got to work further on it. But people will use that to go, I'm going to go down to Borough Market because you can carry it flat and then you can open it up. So that wouldn't be used, for example, oh, I'm just out and about and I need a bag. It's used like I'm going out and I'm going to use that. It's a dedicated shop.
Very intentional,
yeah. Shopping trolleys for. Got some other bags that sort of over there in the corner that are right. They're recycled and all that sort of stuff, and they're good. But you can fold them up, or when you leave your house, rather than picking up a bag in the supermarket, paying you 40p for it, you take that out when you go home. That's what I use on my daily day. So generally, Saturday mornings is my shopping trolley because when I go and for the stuff for the weekend, and my sort of I need to pop to the shop. It's just by the door. I pick up a bag, and it's also been a good I've been using. So my shopping trolley now is over it's a year and a half old. If someone wants to see a product, don't give them a new product. They see what I've used. They can see the wear and tear, how that's come together. So that for me is more important than what it looks like shiny, brand new. This one's been half old. This one's been used for 8 months. Do you know what I mean? So people get like you have done it well. So so in a year's time, hopefully have the funding, got the product launched, got UK sorted in terms of shopping trolley, tested some products, and then I'm starting my first push into Europe, which will be basically doing it like I've done, like a soft launch, like I've done in the UK, to find out the trouble of trading internationally, the things that I need to take into consideration. I haven't decided which market yet. It will be either Germany, France, or Italy. I'm leaving Spain off this one at the moment, even though they're a big shopping trolley user, because there is one brand called Rolza who are quite big in Spain, and they're made. Okay. So I'm not white.
Well, France feels like the logical choice, considering that's where you came up with the idea, right?
Yeah. So then I want to, and then launch in a small one, get my product, and then second round, if I need it, will be then go launch in that market, because what I want to get to is 5 decent European markets trading really well. But then you've got the rest of Europe to go, and America and Australia. That makes me an attractive proposition to buy, because not only have I demonstrated that it works, I can take it international. There is a huge market to go for. Now, whether I take that myself and go massive on it, or someone buys me out, in terms of me buying out, I will stay with my ambition is an exit, get a wad of cash. But I also want to stay on with that business for another 5 years or 3. I don't want to just go bye.
Yeah.
Continue the growth of the business. So anyone that's buying the company from me would hopefully still want me. I'd like to continue its journey, but I'd also like to get some reward. There are certain things I would like, a large lump of cash.
Of course, yeah. That's the dream, right? But I think it's a sensible thing to stay on board, at very least for a couple of years with any exit, even if it is in a board position, just to maintain a level of or to reduce any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? Like there can be a bit of a turbulent time. That sort of change.
So you've got to keep that vision alive while it embeds with the rest of the company.
Right. Exactly.
And the type of companies that might run, luggage brands, they don't have this sector. They're not targeting it.
Yeah.
So I can slot into another type of company, but I'm just give them a new sector, and then they can get because they'll have production lines and all that sort of stuff in their own way later on. So. But what's more effective? To rethink and get into a market, or bring something in and then develop it? Bring something in and develop it.
Yeah. Well, look, we're definitely going to have to catch up again, and just keep me posted in general. I mean, we're connected on LinkedIn and so on. We just keep chatting, and I'll be following along the journey and cheering you on. And then, when the time feels right, we should do another session and have a good old chin wag.
I'm glad you've invited me back, Gregory.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I will be tapping you up on LinkedIn for an introduction if you know anyone.
No problem. I'll do my best.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, and lovely
Thank
to meet
you. You too. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching and/or listening. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments below.